You ever watch someone destroy their own life just because they could not respect one simple warning? Because that is exactly what happened when an HOA Karen decided my private hunting road belonged to her luxury SUV. And trust me, the ending was something nobody in our county will ever forget. My name is Cole Bennett, and my family owns a large piece of wooded land outside a small mountain town where we hunt, camp, and manage wildlife trails for most of the year. The property has one long dirt road running through it, and that road is private. Everybody around here knows it because there are signs, gates, and warning markers all over the entrance. But one person decided the rules did not apply to her. Before we get into this crazy story, make sure to like and subscribe to Karen's Stories daily, because stories like this prove that entitlement always catches up with people eventually, and this one got completely out of control. The first time I saw her SUV was early on a Saturday morning. I was checking trail cameras near the South Ridge when I heard tires spinning on gravel, which already annoyed me because nobody should have been back there. I looked down the road and saw a giant white luxury SUV flying through mud puddles like it was some off-road adventure park, branches snapping, dirt flying everywhere, and the worst part was she drove right around the locked gate by cutting through the grass shoulder beside it. I stood there thinking there is no way somebody is actually this disrespectful. When the SUV finally stopped, a woman stepped out wearing expensive hiking clothes, spotless white sneakers, and giant sunglasses like she was filming some outdoor reality show. She immediately started yelling, asking why the road conditions were so terrible and why there were no proper lanes for vehicles. I honestly thought she was joking at first. I walked over and calmly told her this is private property and she needed to turn around immediately because this road leads into active hunting areas. Instead of apologizing, she crossed her arms and said, "Actually, people from the HOA use this road all the time because it is faster than the main highway." That sentence alone almost made me laugh. There was no HOA access agreement, no public easement, nothing. This land had belonged to my family for decades. I told her clearly this road is private and dangerous, especially during hunting season, and she cannot keep driving through here. She rolled her eyes and said, "Well, maybe if your family maintained it better, people would not damage their vehicles." That was the moment I realized exactly what kind of person I was dealing with. I pointed at the giant private property sign beside the road, and she actually said those signs are aggressive and probably illegal. Then without another word, she got back into her SUV, sprayed gravel everywhere, and drove deeper onto the property like she owned the place. I remember standing there completely stunned because most people, at least, pretend to care when they get caught trespassing, but this woman acted offended that private land even existed. Over the next few weeks, things got worse. She started using the road constantly, sometimes early in the morning, sometimes late at night. And every time she drove through, she tore up parts of the trail, left trash behind, or scared wildlife deeper into the woods. Neighbors started noticing too, because her SUV became impossible to miss. One older hunter even told me she nearly hit his ATV while speeding around a blind corner. We tried everything first, polite warnings, then printed notices, then stronger signs near the entrance. Nothing worked. Every time she ignored us like the rules were optional. Eventually we learned her name was Denise, and she was on the board of a nearby HOA development about 10 miles away, which explained the attitude instantly. According to one local guy, she constantly argued with people, demanded changes to roads, complained about noise, and once threatened legal action because somebody parked a fishing boat where she did not like seeing it. So basically everybody already knew exactly who she was. One afternoon, I finally confronted her again after catching her parked near one of our deer feeding zones. Told her directly if she kept entering private land, we would involve law enforcement. She laughed right in my face and said, "Good luck proving anything because this road looks abandoned anyway." Then she added something that changed my whole mindset. She said, "People like you think you own everything just because your family bought dirt in the middle of nowhere." That comment stayed in my head all night because it showed she truly believed private landowners were the problem, not her. After another week of damage, my cousin Ryan suggested installing stronger barriers near the road entrance, but honestly, we were tired of constantly repairing fences and signs she kept driving around. Then one evening, after checking trail cameras, I found fresh tire marks cutting directly across a restricted hunting section where we had posted safety warnings everywhere. That made me furious because at that point she was creating actual danger. If hunters had been active in that area, someone could have gotten seriously hurt, so we contacted the county sheriff again and explained everything. Turns out Denise had already received multiple trespassing warnings from other properties nearby, not just ours. The deputy told us something interesting, though. He said, if we clearly marked a controlled access deterrent on private land within legal boundaries, we had the right to protect our road from unauthorized vehicles. That conversation gave me an idea, a very simple idea. The next morning we installed reinforced warning boards at the road entrance, bright signs impossible to miss, and behind the narrow bypass area where Denise kept driving around the gate, we added a legal retractable spike strip system designed for private access control. Nothing hidden, nothing illegal, clearly marked with warning signs everywhere. If somebody ignored every warning and still tried forcing their vehicle through that bypass, they would regret it instantly. Honestly, I did not think she would actually try again after all the signs. I underestimated her completely. 3 days later, around sunset, I heard an engine coming from the front entrance again. I grabbed binoculars from the porch and instantly recognized the white SUV bouncing toward the gate. She slowed down, for maybe 2 seconds, looked directly at the warning signs, and then turned toward the exact same grass bypass area she always used. I remember saying out loud, "There is no way she is actually doing this." Then it happened. The sound was immediate. Loud, sharp, and impossible to ignore. Her SUV rolled right over the spike strip, and within seconds all the front tires exploded with a violent hiss. The vehicle lurched sideways into the mud and stopped completely. For 1 second, everything went quiet. Then, the screaming started. Denise jumped out of the SUV, furious beyond belief, yelling about lawsuits, property damage, and assault like somebody attacked her personally. Meanwhile, I just stood there beside the gate staring at her because every single warning had been clearly visible before she drove through. She stormed toward me, demanding I pay for her tires immediately. I calmly pointed toward the massive warning signs posted all over the entrance. Her face turned red instantly, but instead of calming down, she pulled out her phone, saying she was calling the police and her lawyer because she claimed we set a trap for her. I told her go ahead, because at this point I actually wanted law enforcement involved officially. About 20 minutes later, a county deputy arrived, and the moment he stepped out of his vehicle, I could already tell he recognized her SUV. That was not a good sign for Denise at all. The deputy walked slowly around the SUV, checking the destroyed tires and the warning signs placed near the gate. Denise kept yelling that we damaged her vehicle on purpose, but the deputy was not reacting the way she expected. He finally looked at her and asked one simple question. "Did you pass the private property signs to get here?" She went quiet for a second, then started talking about HOA access and community use, but the deputy stopped her immediately and reminded her she had already received previous trespassing warnings from nearby properties. That changed her whole attitude. I showed the deputy the trail camera footage of her driving around the locked gate and ignoring every warning sign before hitting the spike strip. Once he watched the video, even he looked annoyed. Denise kept insisting. We trapped her, but the deputy explained the spike strip was legal because it was clearly marked and installed on private land as an access deterrent. At that point, she realized the situation was turning against her fast. Instead of us getting in trouble, she was the one being officially cited for trespassing and property damage from all the times she tore through the road and fences. Watching her face when the deputy handed over the citation was honestly unforgettable. The same woman who acted like she owned our land now stood beside a ruined SUV, waiting for a tow truck in complete silence. After that day, she never came near our hunting road again. We repaired the damaged trails, restored the fences, and finally had peace back on the property. Sometimes people only learn boundaries after consequences hit them directly, and Denise learned that lesson the expensive way. If you enjoyed this story on Karen Stories Daily, then subscribe, and comment below what you would have done in this situation, because honestly, I still cannot believe she ignored every warning sign just to save a few minutes driving time.